is Miracle and saying hi from a Friday evening. Today is actually the start of a long weekend. It is the Juneteenth holiday and we are heading out to Yosemite tonight. Well, actually not Yosemite tonight. We're heading out to a town near Yosemite because if you remember about a month ago that me and my partner, we tried to go to Yosemite in one day, just wanted to make a day trip, but then we ended up stuck in the traffic for 3 hours. So to avoid that, we actually booked this hotel near Yosemite and we wanted to stay for one night so tomorrow morning we can have a early start. And because I have finished my Spanish class, like I was doing a 60 classes in 60 days challenge, so I finished that on Thursday and I passed the challenge. And one of the reasons that I was doing that is because if you pass the challenge, you actually get your refund, like a full refund. So I'm just waiting for my refund right now. So we're actually also going to Yosemite because we're celebrating the fact that I passed the challenge. And also I wanted to take you guys with me because not only I'm going to do a lot of reading this weekend, Yosemite is actually having the largest waterfall or the largest river thingy in the recent 50 years because last winter there were a lot of snow in the mountains in Yosemite, so now it's close to summer at the end of spring, so actually a lot of the snows started to melt and the waterfall is amazing. Speaking of reading though, I have a couple of TBRs for this vlog, but tomorrow I don't think I'll be able to read because we're actually going to hike for 6 hours. The hike is gonna take like average people 6 hours, but knowing myself, I probably will take like 10 hours. So let's see, good luck to me. But on the way to there, I grabbed an audiobook that I want to read, and also I have 2 other physical books that I want to tackle after I came back. So I just want to say hi here and show you guys my TBR and also talk about how I may not be able to talk in the vlog tomorrow, but I will show you the clips if I take any. So without further ado, let's talk about the TBRs. So I have 2 physical books like I said, and this one, first one is No Longer Human. It's by Osamu Dazai, and this is a book that I got just last week. When I went to the book tour of Elliot Page, I saw this indie bookstore nearby and I went in, and this is one of the books that intrigues me. The reason why that I picked this one as my priority is because after I posted that vlog, Alex from Alex Black Reads actually commented and she said she really loved this book, but this is not a happy book. And I was like, sign me up. This sounds like right at my alley. And the other one, physical one, is this Unsettled Minds and the Stories That Makes Us. Oh, that's the subtitle. The title is Strangers to Ourselves. This is a book that Cousin from Always Doing recommended in her videos, and also she specifically said maybe I will enjoy this one. This is a psychological book. It's a bunch of case studies and talking about how the stories that we are telling about mental illness actually shift how we understand them. And I'm really, really interested in the topic, and I think Cousin is right, and this is something that I would very much like to read. So the audiobook that I grabbed from the library is actually Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. I actually just found out about this book like 2 days ago when I was watching a bunch of other people's Pride Month recommendations. I grabbed this one because the cover really catches my eye. Like I really like neon color style of paintings. Like if you want to attract me to anything, just like present me a cover or like a package of all the neon colored like paintings at night, all the the lights, I'll be happy to dive into. Anyhow, so I know this book happened in San Francisco, Chinatown, and I also know that it's a historical fiction. So I hope the familiarity will be a good fit for me to read this book, and also because I'll be listening to it on audio on the way and also on the way back, which is a 6 hours drive in total. So I hope this one will be like something lighter compared to those 2 books that I'm gonna read, and something enjoyable on the way. And that's all my TBR for this vlog. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and I'll not talk to you guys probably tomorrow because tomorrow I plan to only show you the clips that I take, but like I'll talk to you guys when I come back. guys, it's Sunday evening and I just got my first bit of energy to update you guys because yesterday it was hard. Yosemite was amazing and the waterfall is like so like gigantic and like there's so many people there, but we had a great time. But it actually took me out toward the end of the day because it took us 4 hours or more to go up to the top of the waterfall, and then it took us like even longer to get back because we don't have, our knees are not in the stage where we can just fly from the mountain anymore. And when we were like cautiously hiking down, we saw so many younger people just flew from besides us to downhill, and I was like, yeah, that's probably not that good for your knees, but you know that later. Anyhow, so yesterday was great, but the final like 2 hours of the hike, I was like, why did I do this to myself? And literally I was asking my partner, oh, where are we? Like every 5 minutes, because he has the map, like GPS, like offline map on his phone, so he'll know that where exactly we were. And then it took us about 4 hours to get home, so it was about 12 o'clock and I was just knocked off and took a shower and didn't even dry my hair. So today we're having a bad hair day. Speaking of bad hair day, I actually grabbed myself this little book called I Love My Curly Hair to My Inner Child, if you may, because believe it or not, I was struggling with my hair and I just started to accept it not long before I started BookTube, because in this book, this little girl, her hair is different from her peers, but she got the same hair with her mom and dad. But for me, like, even my mom and dad, they don't have the same hair with me, like no one around me. It was just only me, and it was a tough time growing up, and I did have a hard time to accept it actually. So the other day I saw this book, I was like, I need that. I need to buy that for my inner child. I need to buy that for the little me who, you know, who is struggling with her hair. So it was so cute and I almost teared up. I think not almost, I teared up when I was reading it, not gonna lie. But I do have a reading update also because I am 60% into the Last Night at the Telegraph Club, and this book so far is amazing and I'm really loving it. And the reason why I stopped listening to it yesterday, I still like had 1 hour from home when I stopped, is because one, I was so tired, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't listen to anything anymore. And then the second is I feel like I am at a point where some things is gonna be happening and I'm nervous for the characters, because the main character in this book was a high school student in her senior year and she grew up in Chinatown. She's a Chinese American girl. She grew up during the Red Scare, so her family was suspicious of some like scandals, and she herself is trying to figure out herself, chasing his dream. She wants to study rockets and build rockets to go into space. At that time, most of the girls were expected to start a family, have a proper job, raising their raising their child, yada yada yada. So it's like she wasn't able to express herself that freely, and at the same time she is exploring her sexuality and finding the answers to her desire, like romance wise. So this book is really good. I have two concerns, not concerns, I have two like minor things that I want to mention. The first one is, I know this is a historical fiction, but I also know that there's a huge debate on the historical fiction that are written in modern times. Do we still need to use the aged, like dated, insulting words? Every time it makes me slightly not very comfortable, but I also feel like the book is sending out a message about that typical historical period. But yeah, so that was one of my concerns. And the second one is, it's funny because I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm sure the written the page book. I've been thinking about I didn't page too much lately. Anyhow, I'm sure the physical book doesn't have this problem is the narrator's when she tries to read the Chinese characters in the book. It's not a lot, but the narrator, I feel, because they're both Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese in this book, because the girl, her dad speaks Mandarin and her mom speaks Cantonese. So when we come to the story about her mom and dad, they speak in different languages. I feel like the narrator speaks Cantonese, so the Cantonese in this book sounds a lot more natural, a lot more fluent. However, the Mandarin Chinese though, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure what they're talking about. And I feel like it's hard to find a narrator who speaks English, Cantonese, and Mandarin, right? So for books like this, and if it's not a lot of words in Chinese, can we have like another way of like narrating? For example, I can just say so and so said in Chinese, but the English meaning. I don't know. I feel like that's more, maybe easier for people like me to understand. However, I realized that if you are an English speaker, it's not meant for you to understand actually, if you only speak English. So, but the Mandarin Chinese, that's really funny. Yeah, so that's like my second like concern, because it makes me cringe a little bit when I hear it, but I'm sure the narrator, the audiobook production, and the author, they came from a very good intention to include Mandarin Chinese. So yeah, what do you think about it? Like, if you were you, like, how would you deal with it? I know my English is not the perfect. I make mistakes all the time, so I'm not, you know, at a perfect stage to talking about things like this, because I speak to you guys with, you know, my accent. But it was just something that makes me giggle a little bit when I hear the Mandarin Chinese in the book. However, that's my only book update for now. I haven't read any other 2 books that I mentioned, but we still have time in this long weekend, so I'm gonna read a little bit this evening and update you guys later. Hi friends, it's Monday morning. Today is the last day of the long weekend, and I have finished the last night at the Telegraph Club this morning, and I cried so hard towards the end of the story. It was a great book. I'm so happy that because I did the Pride Month recommendation video earlier this month, so I was watching other people's Pride Month recommendation, and I'm so happy that I liked the cover of this book, and then I read it, and the story was kind of heavy, because it's about a lesbian relationship during the 50s, especially one of them is a Chinese American girl who was expected to be the model minority at that time, and the story just broke my heart, but it's at the same time it's just so good, and I highly recommend it. If I do another Pride Month recommendation video, I will for sure recommend this one. And at the end of the book there, the author's note about all the research she did about San Francisco Chinatown, like in the past, and that was fascinating as well. I'm about to borrow the physical book from the library as well to just look at the notes, and I already wanted to read the books that the author mentioned on the author's note, and I just feel like this is such a historically rich author's note that I've read. Like, I haven't read one author's note like for a fictional books like this before, so I really appreciate the author's work about all the research, and also it just raised my interest about San Francisco's Chinatown a lot, and I personally did a bit of digging into all the books that about the history. They're like, I really want to study the history about the earthquake in 1906 in San Francisco and the Chinatown, because I know that the Chinatown was torn out during the earthquake and almost didn't rebuild, because at that time Chinese people were heavily discriminated, and the local officials wanted actually to wipe out Chinatown from San Francisco and force them to use the opportunity to force them to move out. But there aren't a lot of books about that period of time, specifically about Chinatown. There's so many books about the earthquake though, so it's a little bit hard to dig up, but I really want to research a little bit more and maybe make a video in the future about it on my channel. Do not quote me on that. If I don't make the video, please don't come at me. Anyhow, so that was a great, pleasant read, during the weekend, and I'm so happy about this book. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend. Oh, and also the author mentioned about the historical, some like insulting words that she used in this book, and she talked about how she wanted to recreate the historical moment like accurately. And I'm actually glad that she addressed it, because earlier in this vlog I was talking about how I was a little bit uncomfortable reading that part. So yeah, I'm still indecisive about how I feel about it, but I'm really glad that the author said something about it and didn't let it slip away. With that being said, I have not started any of other books this long weekend. I thought I'm gonna be reading so much, but like in the end I just finished this one book. But I'm about to start the nonfiction Strangers to Ourselves a little bit today, because today is still the holiday, and just change the taste a little bit, and I'll talk to you guys later. Having coffee, watching some booktube. Really need to pick up my desk. Hi friends, it is the afternoon and I have a book update because I have finished the first chapter and the prologue and the first chapter of Strangers of Ourselves. The prologue actually is a chapter itself. It's about 30 pages and talking about the author's experience diagnosed as anorexia when she was 6. So she's the youngest who has been diagnosed as anorexia at her times. I'm not sure if she's still the youngest right now, but she took a deep dive into her experience at the time and also described some of the friends that she met during her treatment. And the interesting thing is she didn't even have the sense of eating and like beauty standards that are usually associated with anorexia. So her anorexia was basically all came from the stress that she's facing because of her family issues at the time. And so she had some very interesting discussions in the prologue, which lead her to think about the diagnosis and also the stories we tell about mental health and how that related to how we see ourselves. And the first chapter is about a man called Ray, and he is somehow kind of like stuck in the past of his childhood, and that he's mourning for things, or like he's constantly grieving for things that he has lost. He had a troubled time to process it, and which leads him to have some difficulties in his current relationship. And I found the prologue very interesting. I think it's because it's very personal. I have a hair in my eye, which makes me so itchy. Anyhow, so I found it's very interesting, the prologue, because it is very personal and I like it better than the first chapter. I feel like the first chapter maybe is trying to present Ray, this person, like a three-dimension person, but this case is somehow complicated, and because it's not from a first-person perspective, so it feels like weaker than the prologue, but both chapters are really good and I enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to see what other cases that this book presents. But so far I just want to update you guys on that. I like the prologue a lot, and the first chapter is informative but like not connected with like the level that I connected with the prologue. But I'm happy that I started this book in this vlog, and it is only about 4 o'clock today, so I think I'll have time to read maybe one chapter or more in this book and talk to you guys later. Hi guys, it's the evening and I want to update you on my reading of Strangers to Ourselves and also close off this video. First of all, the book update. I am at page 127 of this book, and this is actually the beginning, like in the middle of the beginning of a new chapter, but I think I'm gonna stop here because I don't have the mental capacity to absorb a nonfiction anymore today. But I'm still really happy with my progress because I started this book today and I'm already halfway into this book at 120 something pages. And this book is impressive in a way that it presented us like different interesting cases related to mental illness, and also presenting us new angles to look at each case. And I am at a case where I suppose it's gonna talk about the mental health system in America right now. And the previous chapter was about a woman in India. I really love that chapter actually. I liked the social observation in that chapter, and also talking about the culture differences between some Eastern countries and the Western medicine field. And because a lot of the mental illness studies are done in Western world, so it might not apply to some Eastern countries, especially like India, which is a country that is rich in its culture and religion and like all the historical background. So there might have been some gaps in between of the two aspects, and I really liked how the author tackled on that. And I like the author's social commentary, for example, about feminism, about the women's traditional role in the family. It's way more interesting than the first chapter called Ray, in my opinion, so I like it a lot more. And this current chapter that I'm in is very interesting as well, so I'm looking forward to read more. Just that today I think I'm a bit tired from reading, and for the rest few hours of my long weekend, I want to edit this video and also enjoy some fun things like YouTube and things. And I also want to talk a little bit more about last night at the Telegraph club on its historical aspect, because I don't think I've mentioned it quite a lot, but I kept thinking about it. It actually tackles on the history of Chinese American, and also it provided you some historical timeline, which I actually already know, but I really loved how this book had the timeline, like historical timeline with the timeline of the family intertwined in the story, because it shows you, for example, in the period of anti-Chinese act and also the Red Scare and also during World War II, this way of writing actually shows you that they are people who lived in that historical period. Because sometimes when we think about history, it's hard for us to imagine, you know, lively people who is going day by day in the historical period. It's like it is easy for us to look at the big pictures and ignore the lives that are struggling in that period. And I really loved that, and I can tell that the author did a lot of research, like I said, I think earlier today, about her author's note. So I really appreciate the culture aspect of that book. And that is my opinion of the two books that I read, and I really wanted to start No Longer Human, but I don't have time anymore. And I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog, and Please let me know if you have any thoughts about the books that I was reading, or what did you read during the weekend, and also did you like the clips of Yosemite? I hope you enjoyed it, and thumbs up to this video if you liked it. I wish you happy reading, stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in my next bookish video. Bye!